Have you ever tried following, say, a really technical guide, maybe for complex code or some fancy recipe or like today, really precise hair design?
Oh, yeah.
You see the amazing result, but the instructions are just dense, full of jargon, specific angles. You kind of just wish someone would break down the why that angle, why that step.
And that's exactly what we're going to do today. That translation is our mission. We're taking a deep dive into the professional methods for, well, probably the most requested look right now. That flowing layered cut with the face framing curtain bangs, the pair coup.
Right.
And we're not just summarizing, we're actually dissecting the geometry, the exact body positions, the strategic directions that turn just a regular cut into something really designed almost architectural.
Okay, so we looked at a bunch of sources detailing this whole process, and we're going to try and distill the core brilliance, right? We'll start with the absolute must-haves, the structural blueprint, then setting the base length. After that, it's the artistry, that 45-degree angle for the curtain bangs.
The signature part.
Exactly. And finally, how they get all that movement but still keep the length, those advanced techniques.
Right. And we absolutely have to start with the foundation because, without a really solid map, the final look, it just won't have that symmetry.
Makes sense.
So the first critical step is applying the temel, the fundamental separations. It's all about managing the hair, getting control.
And I guess for anyone thinking this just means, like, randomly clipping hair out of the way.
No.
These separations are really specific, right? They have geometric purpose.
Totally specific. The very first one is the profile irima, the profile separation. That's a dead straight line, center of the forehead, bisecting the head.
All the way back.
All the way back to the nape of the neck. It sets up the central axis.
The line of symmetry.
Exactly that. And then right after comes the tas irima, the crown separation.
Crown separation, okay.
Another straight line, this one running from one ear right across the top of the crown to the other ear.
Okay, so you've got this cross, right? Profile, front to back, crown, ear to ear, divides the head into 4 main sections.
4 quadrants.
But tell me, why is this blueprint, this perfect central axis, so vital before you even make the first cut?
Well, it boils down to balance and, honestly, gravity. When you're going to have different lengths falling differently, short layers up front, longer in the back, you have to guarantee that starting point is perfectly symmetrical, balanced. If that central profile line is off by, like, even a tiny bit, every single section you pull out after that is going to be slightly off, too. Asymmetrical.
So it saves you from constantly trying to fix things later.
Exactly. It stops the stylist having to correct for, sections leaning or looking uneven down the line.
Okay, that makes total sense. It's like laying the cornerstone for a building. Get that right first.
Precisely. So once that axis is solid, then we move to the back section. Time to set the overall length. The base length is set using the first horizontal separation you make in the back. And this first cut, this is what determines the hair's permanent guide. The couleuvreuse.
Guide length.
Yeah, and the sources are really clear on this. The stylist sets this length and then commits to not cutting it shorter later on. This is the length that gives the whole style its body, its foundation.
Okay, but why horizontal separations there? Wouldn't cutting vertically maybe give some early layers or graduation?
It could, yeah, but that's not the goal for this specific look at this stage.
Right.
They want a really solid uniform base first.
Okay.
So cutting horizontally and then moving up step by step, cutting kadim, using more horizontal lines that strictly follow that first guide cut.
Yeah.
That guarantees the back stays perfectly straight and even. You're basically just building the weight line at the bottom.
Gotcha.
Vertical sections, which, spoiler alert, we will use later.
Right.
Those are for creating the layers, the movement. Horizontals for that solid foundation of weight. And they make sure it distributes evenly by taking lots of small, manageable sections. Dilim ayarak.
Okay, foundation solid, length locked in. Now we pivot to the bit that really gives the cut its personality, right? The curtain bangs, the perdekakul. That needs a special kind of separation, I bet.
Oh, absolutely. It's very precise, almost like an architectural detail. You've got to isolate that front section for the bangs first. And where you place that section is key.
Where does it start?
It starts exactly from the outside line or the end of the customer's eyebrows.
Oh, okay. Specific.
Very. From those 2 points, the stylist sections the hair into a triangle shape pointing back. That's the forehead motif separation, the alen motifi irima.
A triangle starting right at the outer brows. That makes sense. So the bangs blend into the face framing naturally.
Exactly. And once you have that triangle sectioned off, you have to divide it perfectly down the middle.
Right down the center.
Yep. The sources really stress this for the best visual result because the whole design relies on the hair sweeping away from that central point.
Okay, now the cutting part. You said the angle is everything. It can't just be a straight cut across, right? That would look wrong.
Definitely not. It needs that angled technique and actually some surprising movement from the stylist, too.
Movement? How so?
Okay, so when the stylist is ready to cut the left side of the bangs, they don't stand right in front. They actually move over to the customer's right side.
Huh. To the right side, facing the hair from the opposite angle.
Exactly. Then they lift the hair and cut using really precise 45-degree angles, aiming for the height of the cheekbones, the elmacamiclarinen.
Okay.
And then they mirror it. To cut the right side, the stylist walks around to the customer's left side.
Wait, hang on. Why the body shift? Cutting the left side while standing on the right? That feels kind of counterintuitive if you're trying to keep things symmetrical.
It does sound a bit odd, doesn't it? But the shift is actually crucial for controlling the direction the hair wants to go, getting that perfect sweep.
Oh.
By cutting the left side from the right, the stylist naturally pulls the hair slightly toward the face as they cut. And that 45-degree angle ensures the shortest point is right at the center part, and then it immediately gets longer going outwards.
Okay.
If they just stood straight on, there is a risk of getting a chunkier, blunter line. This opposite angle forces the hair to fall away from the center really smoothly, framing those cheekbones with that classic soft curve.
That is brilliant. So the stylist's body position directly controls the flow of the hair. Cutting at 45 degrees towards the cheekbones but switching sides? That's how you get the blend.
Wow, that's a real piece of pro insight.
It really defines the whole look. And right after cutting both sides like that, the stylist does an immediate control check.
Checking the flow.
Yeah, checking the flow, the symmetry, right from the front, making sure it's spot on before moving to the next stage.
Okay, so length is set. Bangs are framed beautifully. Now we need to deal with the rest of the hair. The goal here is loads of movement, high layers in the front and sides, but without losing that length we were so careful about in the back.
Exactly. And this is where another specialized layering technique comes in, one that manages that difference in length perfectly. The hair gets separated, usually in two big stages, moving back from the front sections using a diagonal part.
But here's the absolute key technique for this entire cut. The hair is then combed forward. Everything is combed, undo rodu tararak, towards the front, and then lifted straight up to be cut.
Okay, now this is where it gets super interesting. Because, anyone who's had just a basic trim knows that usually hair is combed back or down, right? To get an even length or simple layers. Why is combing everything forward the secret here? Especially for keeping length at the back.
The secret is in the physics of it, really.
Yeah.
It's a technique called the cheekbone, or fixed design line.
Fixed design line, okay.
Imagine there's a fixed point, like right in front of the customer's face, maybe above their forehead. When you comb all the hair forward to that single fixed point, think about the hair closest to that point, the front layers.
Right, they don't have far to travel.
Exactly. They travel a very short distance. Right. So when you cut along that fixed line, those sections get cut quite short. They become highly layered.
Okay, and the hair for the back.
Now that hair has to travel the greatest distance to reach that same fixed point, way up front.
Right, stretching all the way from the nape.
Precisely. And because it travels so far, when you cut, only the very ends actually reach the cutting line. So only the ends get trimmed or lightly layered.
Wow, okay. So combing forward strategically makes the front short and super layered for volume?
While the back sections stay long and mobile, haircutly. It's actually a genius way to put dramatic layers into the cut without chopping off all the length and the bulk of the hair.
That is the real game changer then. You're using the hair's travel distance to the cutting line to control how much layer you create. It gives you ultimate control over where the length stays and where the layers go.
It's a fundamental rule of direction in cutting. Yeah. Think about the exact opposite, like a classic one-length bob.
Okay.
If you were to comb all the hair back to a fixed point at the nape, the hair in the back travels a short distance, so it ends up short.
And the front hair travels far, so it stays long. The A-line bob effect.
Exactly. But for this layered cut, we want the opposite. Intense layers up front, long and flowing in the back.
Right.
So by using that fixed design line and combing forward, you completely reverse the geometry.
So the foundation of cutting isn't just the scissors. It's maybe even more about the direction you comb the hair. That's a huge insight.
It really is. It's all about understanding directionality and how it affects the outcome.
Okay. Now, we've used the düz makas darbesi, the straight shear stroke, for most of this structural work, right? Setting the base, framing the bangs, creating those fixed design line layers,
The main shaping.
which means the result, geometrically speaking, is probably quite sharp. A keskin bir görüntü, as the sources say, clean lines, but maybe a bit blocky.
It can be, yeah. Very defined lines.
So how do we take that really structured cut and soften it all up, make it flow together into that soft, blended look everyone wants?
Right, that sharpness needs specific finishing work. And this is where the stylist brings in the Torakla Burgu technique.
The comb twist technique. Okay, sounds interesting.
It is. It's designed specifically to break up those hard lines left by the straight shears.
How does it work?
Okay, so the stylist takes a section of hair, lifts it straight up from the head, maybe 90 degrees, and then they intentionally twist it really tightly, using the comb to help twist it right down to the ends.
Twisting the section. Why?
Because that twisting action is key. It changes the angle of all the hair ends within that section. They're no longer lying flat and even. They're sort of grouped unevenly, creating an irregular surface. It disrupts the uniform line that was just cut.
Ah, okay. So it mixes up the ends, and then what? Cut into the twist?
Exactly. Once it's twisted tightly, they use either thinning shears, the file makasi, or they might use their straight shears, but employ a point-cutting technique like Beylikdüzü technique.
Point cutting into the twist.
Yeah, and because the hair is twisted, when you cut into it, you're essentially removing unequal amounts of hair from different lengths within that small section. Some strands get cut shorter, some longer, all because of the twist.
So it's not just thinning it uniformly, it's actually dissolving the harsh line from the earlier cut.
Precisely. That's a great way to put it. It removes that visual sharpness from the straight cut. It makes the transitions, especially between those shorter front layers and the longer back sections, seamless, airy, much more aesthetically pleasing.
Giving it that soft, homogeneous blend, the movement, the lightness.
That's the goal. Yeah.
And this softening process, this twisting and cutting, it's done systematically all over, not just on the obvious parts.
Oh, yes. The sources emphasize applying it methodically, section by section, often starting from the crown area and working backward, making sure all the layers, even those longer back layers we carefully preserved, get that intense softening and blending.
So even the back, which was kept long, gets this treatment to ensure it flows with everything else.
Absolutely. It's the final step that ensures the hair doesn't fall like separate blocks of length, but moves as one cohesive flowing shape. It really turns the technical geometry into, well, an artistic finish.
Okay, so if we kind of zoom out and look back at this whole journey through the sources, we basically took this super technical process and found, what, like 3 essential geometric truths behind it?
I think so, yeah. First, that central axis you get from the profile and crown separations.
Non-negotiable for symmetry.
Absolutely. Second, that specific angled cutting, that 45-degree lift aimed at the cheekbones, and importantly, switching your body position to do it.
That's the key to the soft, swept frame for the bangs.
Exactly. And third, the dynamic layering isn't just about cutting up into the hair. It's achieved using that clever fixed design line technique.
By combing all the hair forward.
Yes. That's what creates the high front layers while preserving the back length.
It really feels like those specific details, comb direction, body angle, that's the secret sauce. That's what separates just a basic cut from this complex, flowing, professional design. We've sort of unlocked the mechanics behind why this style looks so effortless, even though the technique is anything but.
It's quite intricate when you break it down. And we saw how fundamentally just changing the direction you comb the hair forward versus backward, it completely dictates how length and movement get distributed. It's the difference between, say, a heavy bob and this light layered look. That directional command really governs the whole geometry.
Right. So here's something to think about. If this basic directional rule, just changing the path of movement, has such a massive impact on something as visual and complex as hair design, what other professional fields, or maybe even just everyday things we do, are governed by an equally simple yet powerful directional rule that we just don't really stop to notice? You know, whether it's how you structure an argument, or maybe how you approach a difficult task at work. What direction are you combing your efforts in? And what final shape, what final geometry is that direction inevitably going to create for you?